Water, a colorless, transparent, odorless, tasteless liquid that forms the seas, lakes, rivers, and rain, and is the basis of the fluids of living organisms. What does water mean to you? Is it catching that perfect wave? Standing underneath a beautiful waterfall? Is it listening to that perfect storm? Or listening to waves crash in the ocean? What does water mean to you? There are more than 326 million trillion gallons of water on Earth. Less than 3% of all water is fresh water, and of that amount, more than 2/3 is locked up in ice caps and glaciers. With so much water around, it seems like there's enough to see us through for millions of years. But did you know that water, which seems to be in abundance, might one day become scarce? I am an alcoholic. I'm also a drug addict. I have not touched alcohol or drugs since the spring of 1985. That was when I woke up in my own apartment and didn't recognize where I was, or who I was. That morning scared the pants off me and was the beginning of a long road to recovery and healing. Recovery and healing is a process, which is why I still consider myself an alcoholic and a drug addict after all these years. My name is Bob Purdy. I'm the Standup PaddleSurfing Elder in training from Paddle for the Planet. I've paddled every day since January 1st, 2011 to change the way we live on the planet. I'm also the founder of World Paddle for the Planet Day. We face some significant challenges socially, economically, and environmentally in the world today. Challenges that require us to take care of the planet we live on. Thank you, Creator. Thank you for all things and for making all things possible. Thank you for the air we breathe. Thank you for the water that sustains us. Thank you for the land and the 10,000 things. Thank you for the sun that completes the circle of life. As we move through this day and all the days to come, we will do our best to walk softly so that our footsteps may be light and our footprints invisible. Join me on this journey. One person is the difference. Stand up and be that person. Together, we can send a wave of change around the world. This is my story.
Hey, nay, nay, oh, hey, nay, nay, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, wee. Hey, nay, nay, oh, hey, nay, nay, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, wee. Hey, nay, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, wee. Hey, nay, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, wee. Hey, nay, nay, oh, hey, nay, nay, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, wee. Hey, nay, nay, oh, hey, nay, nay, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, wee. Hey, nay, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, wee. Hey, nay, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, wee.
Today, I find myself in a deep and disturbing state of fear again. I wake up every day and increasingly do not recognize the world in which I live. I see haze, weird clouds, and contrails in a sky that was clear when I was a child. As I fall asleep at night, I slip into these intense night terrors of the world falling apart behind me. I'm trying everything I can to wake up, but I can't. I'm drowning. I'm drowning in the open sea with nowhere to go. I want the nightmares to stop, but they won't let me. I've got to stand up and protect our environment. I have to keep going. I have to paddle every day. I have been going to Tofino since the early 70s and go there every chance I get. It is stunningly beautiful, wild and raw. Every time I go there, I discover a new place, learn more about the natural world, and meet new friends. The town is much the same as it was back in the 70s. No big box stores here. As spectacular as the place is, it is the people that keep me coming back, especially this year. This year, Tofino was a location of our 3rd annual World Paddle for the Planet Day, and the support we received from the community was beyond amazing. The site of this year's paddle was Mackenzie Beach in front of the Best Western Tenuous Resort on traditional Clayoquot territory. Elder Levi Martin started this year's paddle off during the opening ceremonies with a blessing. And Saya Masso and Simca Martin shared their culture with us. It is difficult to express the emotion of World Paddle for the Planet Day. I can say with confidence we sent another wave of change around the world. Thank you, Tofino. I first met Catherine Bruhwiler at the Waterman Festival in Comox, BC back in August of 2011. I knew her by reputation before that, and in Comox I learned firsthand how strong a person she is.
I grew up on the beach, and of course, we didn't have any TVs or computers or video games or anything like that. We had each other's company. We had the beach, we had the water, and it's just what you did. Like, you just didn't know anything different. To me, like, what the water's become, it's my playground, it's my office, it's my coffee shop where I meet my friends and my family and we hang out. It's my sacred place, it's where I go where I can just kind of forget about everything and just be in the moment. Really can't imagine a life where I don't spend that time sitting out in the water, just kind of soaking it all in. I don't know what my life would be like if I didn't have that on an almost daily basis. Being in the water is like breathing or like drinking coffee in the morning. It's like something that's become such a routine in my life and such a big part of what I do and who I am in so many ways that it is hard to put words to it. But I do think in the context of it being a place where I go to feel that kind of solitude, it could equate to kind of any spiritual place of worship where someone goes to just be still and yeah, just be really, really present. It's given me a place to feel like I can just shut down, be myself, and kind of connect with the great big ocean, which is our planet. I think that what I have seen in my own kids and my friends and myself and then the people that I take out on tours or I teach is that when you can enjoy something to that extent, and this is what it is, it's like going out, you just turn into a 5-year-old and you're there only because you're there. Like, there's no agenda. So you're having fun, you know, you come out smiling and you want to do it again. And I think that when you can celebrate something like that, it feeds into a caring. So you love it, and so therefore you will care for it. And therefore you will be more likely to do something about, you know, the destruction and the issues that we're facing. That is my goal at the end of the day with my business, is to bring more people out to enjoy it, to then help them foster a caring of the ocean and the beaches. I think that in Tofino, we are fairly isolated in a way that we live in such a pristine place, and we are so removed from the really blatant industrialization of the land. Sometimes if we stay here too long, or we don't ever turn the news on, you can kind of forget that there is all sorts of destruction going on. But I think right now that one of the things that is pretty in our faces is the threat, or the knowing that these tankers start cruising up and down our coasts. This way that we live and the things we enjoy and the way that we make our money so that we can survive, that is something that is really real for me and really real for a lot of people here on the coast. I understand that feeling of hopelessness and helplessness because it seems like you're fighting such a giant. So I feel really fortunate. I've been given opportunities to kind of share my thoughts, to create awareness around it. I think water is the most incredible thing. If you have an opportunity to get out there and someone invites you, or your kids are begging you to jump in the river with them, do it, because you will come out feeling so rejuvenated and energized.
John Forde is a true West Coaster. He owns and operates the Whale Center in Tofino, where he's a longtime resident. There's a lot of local knowledge that John has, and he willingly shares it with anyone who wants to know. John will give you the shirt off his back, and I consider myself fortunate to count him as a friend.
My name's John Forde. I've owned and operated the Whale Center in Tofino for the last 15 years or so. I took it over in '97 and have been working at whale watching in Tofino for 30 years now. Water, of course, is life. It affects everything I do out here. It's how I make my money. It's surrounded us. We live in a peninsula. There's water on the outside where the waves and the open ocean is, and all up through the inlets is, hundreds of miles of water in this area, and it's everywhere you look. It's life for us out here. It's incredibly important. The business I do is taking tourists and people out to enjoy the scene of the West Coast and to show them wildlife. And all the wildlife that we see, we do by boat, and it's all concentrated on the water. There's definitely environmental impacts that are happening that we notice on a regular basis. This last season, I raised an alarm early in the season because we didn't have any kelp beds growing this year, which was a total shock to me. Since the sea otter has been reintroduced and their population has increased, the kelp beds have been expanding because sea otters eat sea urchins, and sea urchins have had free reign out here for about 150 years. And they feed on the holdfast, or the root of the kelp, the bull kelp. And so they've decimated the kelp forest. The sea otters have culled back the sea urchins, and the kelp forests have expanded, which has been fantastic because it's created all types of environment for smaller organisms and bait fish and so forth to thrive and expand. And so the food that the whales eat all down the food chain is based on that type of ecosystem and environment. And last year, it didn't happen. We had no kelp beds in the area, and it raised a huge red flag for me. We are impacted by what large corporations, large business does. The transporting of crude oil along the coastline, spillage from the pipelines, anything that is going to impact the shoreline and anything out here. So many people look at the ocean and think that if you do something in one area, it doesn't affect anywhere else. But it's water, it's all connected, and anything that gets put into it is part of that system, and it affects everything else. Fukushima, Japan, unfortunately, is going to affect us. We've already had a fair amount of debris washing up on the shores. it's impossible to get straight answers on what's going to happen with the debris and the radioactivity that is apparently coming our way. We've been very lax in the past of what we put into the ocean. Huge areas, they say the size of Texas, of floating debris out in the middle of the Pacific, of waste and garbage. It's basically like your bathtub. And if you're taking an eyedropper and dropping in little bits of toxins or pollutants, it doesn't take long before that bathtub is someplace that you don't want to go in and isn't going to support any more life. Most experts say it's not if there's going to be a spill, it's when there's going to be a spill. I run power boats to take people out, and in the back of my mind, it's like I'm adding to the greenhouse gases. I'm also weighing out the thing that by doing that, I'm exposing hundreds of people to the value of this area and hopefully creating their awareness that they'll take with them. It's pretty incredible to have someone whose life is spent in a concrete city, and you know that in their personal lives or business lives, they're in control, and they get onto the boat and they go out, and the minute they leave the dock, that's all gone. They realize that they're in my hands. Once we get out there and they see the power of the ocean, they see the expanse of it, you get out offshore a little ways and you realize that the next stop is Japan. You can just see the calming effect on them, and the awe when they see a whale spout, off in the distance, and to see people get excited when it's not even a spectacular show, but way off in the distance they get their first spout and they're just like, there they are, we see them, and then as you get closer and you get one of those incredible experiences where we're fortunate enough to get a nice big tail or a breach, or even better, a close encounter, just seeing people's lives change by that experience is awe-inspiring. It's why I do this. It's why I don't sit in my office and send people out all the time. It's why I spend time on the boat, because to me, after 30 years, I'm not tired of it. I love being out here. It's incredible to show people what this area and these animals are like. I've been really fortunate over the years to have so many incredible encounters with whales. On the west coast of Tofino, I do whale disentanglements. When whales get wrapped up in traps or floats and have ropes dragging off them, we're informed, and over the years I've probably cut ropes off of about 20 different whales, from gray whales to humpbacks. The first time I did that successfully, and I had a whale lay its tail on the bow of the boat and lay it there and allow me to cut the rope off, that changed my life. It was incredible, awe-inspiring. It just, and then to have it go off, and it knew that we were there to help it, and a spy hop at the end of it, and it looks as it swims off. It changes you, definitely. It's amazing to be able to help an animal that is caught up in something man-made and he can't or she can't get out of, and we're able to go in there and help that animal out. It's pretty impressive, pretty euphoric, awe-inspiring. Yeah, I love it.
For those that don't know, Roy Henry Vickers is a well-known First Nations artist, carver, storyteller, and singer. I had been wanting to meet him for many years and finally got the opportunity when we filmed his interview. My wife gave me a copy of his book Solstice many years ago, which I hauled to Tofino with me for years in the hopes of getting him to sign it. We shared a great laugh when we both discovered that it was already a signed copy, and then he signed it for me again. I think that moment sealed a new friendship.
My white man's name is Roy Henry Vickers, and I was born on the banks of the Nass River back in 1946. Hey, nay, nay, oh, hey, nay, nay, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, wee. Hey, nay, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, wee. Hey, nay, oh. my happiness and my inspiration comes from knowing that I'm attempting every day of my life to make a difference for what is truth and what is strength and what is loving of all of the ancestors who've gone before me, who enable me to be who I am here today. When our water from our bodies goes into the ground, it joins with other waters, and those waters join with other waters, and they become a trickle, and then a creek, and then go into a river, and then the river goes into the ocean, and then the ocean goes into the sky, and then it falls down all over the world. When we touch water, we change the water. Even science tells us today. And so the water that comes from us and joins the other waters has us traveling all over the world. To hear your story and what you're doing, it's inevitable that we're going to come together sooner or later, because the water is carrying you, and the water is part of my life. We live with people around the world who don't understand, especially in our country where we have the gift of wonderful water, the water that runs by my house. I can go down and drink it anytime I want to. And when I visit people in Winnipeg and they're on the river in a place called Saguin, right close where it means where the river opens up into Lake Winnipeg, they tell me not to drink the water there because it's poison, it's no good. And I'm shocked. Well, how can that possibly be? How can that be? We're so far from civilization. And they say, well, you know, the people have poisoned the water. And sorry, you can't drink it. So I tell them, oh, you have to come to my home. I bath in our water, I drink our water, it's really good water. And then I realize it's not common. Even in our big country of Canada, it's not common to have good water. And so everything that's happening today and the pressures that are coming upon us, they want to frack, hydraulic fracturing of the land, and they want to use the very water from the Skeena River, the very water, and using that water to fracture the land to get the gas out destroys the water. And it's possible, my friend David Suzuki says it's possible for them to completely destroy the river, completely. And I don't understand how people cannot know this and can do what they're doing. It's painful to see.
Here in BC, there are many different plans to further exploit the fossil fuel industry with new pipelines and LNG plants. If successful, tanker traffic along the BC coastline will increase exponentially, bringing with it the risk of oil spills. The effect of a spill to the coastline would be devastating. Tofino would never be the same if a spill happened. Beyond the obvious effect to marine and animal life are the not-so-obvious effects to the people of the region, particularly the Clayoquot Nation. Gone would be the days the ocean could be harvested for food. Gone would be the tourist industry that depends on a pristine environment. Gone would be the recreation that so many currently enjoy in Tofino. And Tofino is just one of many communities that would potentially be affected. There are many, including myself, working to protect the pristine nature of BC. Without it, we would not be known as beautiful British Columbia. I have lived in the Okanagan Valley in British Columbia for more than 50 years. One of my favorite spots in the valley is Kalmalka Lake, better known as the Lake of Many Colors. Cal Lake is one of those places where you just go, wow, rubbernecking everywhere to take it all in. What really makes this lake unique is the color. It can range from cyan to indigo due to light scattering by the precipitation of calcite. Awesome, just awesome. Not only is Cal Lake extremely beautiful, it is also the spot where we get to have lots of fun.
I run Surf Kelowna with my dad, Bob, and we've been running the school for about 5 years now. We teach wake surfing behind the boat on Wood Lake and Kalmalka Lake out in beautiful British Columbia.
We're a long ways from the ocean here, and so we don't have any waves, but we create our own weight behind the boat. And we actually take people out there and teach them how to surf real surfing on a lake.
Bruce Cook is one of the most inspirational people I know. The first time I met him was a few months after a horrific motorbike crash he suffered as a professional motocross rider that left him a paraplegic. Bruce attempted a double front flip in a Nitro Circus live event in Hamilton, Ontario. The paddler crew invited Bruce to go wake surfing during our location shoot on Cal Lake, and there was zero hesitation on his part. He not only embraced the invitation, he schooled us all in determination, grit, and courage.
It's Bruce Cook from Kelowna, BC, and I ride freestyle motocross. Was injured attempting a double front flip on my dirt bike, attempting a world first. Ended up breaking T11 vertebrae and got a complete spinal cord injury. So in a chair for now, but yeah, just love getting out and doing what I can. I've basically grown up on the water, around water, in water, so just being back around it and in it it's awesome. It's what I've done all my life. To be able to get back in and on the surfboard's sweet. It's getting kind of back to my roots and just that good, peaceful feeling. You know, you tell someone you're a paraplegic and you're going surfing, they kind of look at you a little funny. Turned out really good and was a ton of fun once I got the hang of it, which came pretty quick. Every day there's a new challenge. I used to, and still do, live a very active lifestyle. I mean, there's a challenge in everything throughout the day, whether it's cruising down the street and coming across a set of stairs, or loading in a boat, or getting back to the activities I used to do, like wake surfing and stuff. There's a way to do everything. For me, pre-injury, I always loved a challenge, so now everything's that much more of a challenge, so I just kind of charge it like it's an exciting challenge every day.
Water means a lot to me out here in the Okanagan. Actually moved here for the water. It's a beautiful part of the country, lots of beautiful lakes, and we spend a lot of time on the lake. We love the lake. We're on our boat, we're paddle boarding, we're swimming, just chilling out in the lake. It's a very beautiful place.
Water is what we live for. People have to realize that there's just too much garbage going in the lakes, too much partying and stuff like that. You see boats with over 20 people on them and, you know, beer cans and stuff thrown in the lake. I think that people need to realize that it's such an important thing for these lakes to be clean. I think what Bob's got going is super educational. Hoping people can, you know, realize what's going on and clean up their act a bit.
I think one of the things with the healthy water is it's an education thing that a lot of people, especially here in the Okanagan, it's such a beautiful place that most people just take it for granted that the water will be here for another 500 years, but they don't really understand what we're doing to the water. We've got to save this water. It's what it's all about.
Unfortunately, many of our lakes, including Cal Lake, are in trouble. Years of treating lakes as dumping grounds has taken its toll. Sewage, fertilizers, farm waste, road grime, and more have all found their way into lakes, creating problems not seen from the shoreline on a sunny day. We have the ability, individually and collectively, to reverse these damaging ways. If we are to send clear and healthy lakes to future generations, it's important that we make corrections now to find ways to reverse the damage we've already done. I'm not sure there are words to express the place that is the Great Bear Rainforest. From the moment I first stepped into this territory, I was struck by much more than the beauty of the place. Great Bear is one of the few pristine and natural places left on the planet. Mountains still sport their beard of trees, much of it old-growth forest that has been there for centuries. Ocean that is beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Much of it is a mystery to us to this day. The Gitga'at First Nations people have lived here for thousands of years, and you can feel their love of territory in their culture and traditions. The web of life is front and center in every breath one takes in the Great Bear Rainforest, a web of life that is so connected and interdependent that removing or harming even one element has a direct and immediate impact to the whole. I consider Norman John Han a good friend and a brother. He is one of the top paddlers in the world and a passionate advocate for a healthy and vibrant planet.
You said that was gross and disgusting. That's not gross and disgusting.
Who said that?
Well, two people it's like the ocean.
Norm is an adopted member of the Gitga'at First Nation in Hartley Bay. And when he first heard about a pipeline proposal called Northern Gateway many years ago, he had some concerns. In 2010, he paddled his stand-up paddle surfer from Kitimat to Bella Bella, a very long paddle, a paddle documented in his first film, Stand Up for Great Bear, to illustrate the effects an oil spill would have on the west coast of BC. A couple of years later, he paddled the east coast of Haida Gwaii to illustrate the same effect in his second film, Stand. We can all learn a lot from Norm.
I think it's really difficult to try and sum up the power that water has. So I guess when I think about it, that's sort of what comes to mind is power. It's just so much greater than any one person or anything. It's who we are, it's where we've come from, it's our connection to the land. I can't help but think, standing at this exact spot here in the Great Bear Rainforest, how powerful water is. The rain has pretty much created this type of environment, and all you have to do is walk through a temperate old growth rainforest, and that's a feeling you can't describe. You have to experience that feeling. That's created by rain. I can take a look at these salmon streams right here with thousands of salmon moving up, and the water's provided a conduit. They've gone from the ocean, which is all powerful in itself. They've now come into a freshwater river, and they're working their way up into the rainforest, where at some point in time they will die and their bodies will be eaten by a number of different species. They'll go back into the trees and into the forest, and is actually part of the whole water cycle.
Life is bigger than life in the Great Bear Rainforest. We have much to learn from the Great Bear. It is imperative that we preserve and protect this very special place on Earth. If every person on the planet could visit and experience the spirit of Great Bear, the world would be a very different place. In my 60-plus years on the planet, I have contributed to and witnessed environmental degradation like never seen before. Many years ago, I made a commitment to send a healthy and vibrant planet into the future. What if my great-great-grandchildren never get to experience this place the way I did because we didn't take care of it? What if all that's left for my great-great-grandchildren is an ocean full of plastic? What if the air is so toxic that my great-great-grandchildren cannot take a breath of fresh air? What if? It's up to me to hand off a healthy and vibrant planet. This planet does not belong to me, it belongs to future generations. I will do whatever it takes to make sure my great-great-grandchildren can experience what I know to be possible. Our obsession with making money, saving money, and convenience at any cost is creating a society that functions in an altered state. We are literally sucking the life out of Mother Earth to sustain the disposable society we have created. Rational judgment is becoming a rare commodity in today's world. At what point do we realize the damage we are causing and take steps to create a different world? How many more days will I have to paddle before we actually change the way we live on the planet? It's time to put our differences aside and all pull together for Mother Earth.